Hey, so here I was just trying to build a small application which can do some prompt comparisons. So what I just did is like this is my main file, nothing else there, just a fast API application. Then I just wrote one chat.py. You can see the file structure here. This is just some of my models where I want to keep my responses in certain formats. So I quickly created some models. So this is going to be my end model, right? So basically my input going to be like a system prompt 1 and system prompt 2, which I need to compare both of them. And there will be a list of user queries, like okay, what the queries going inside that prompt. There may be 5 to 10 queries, and this both these queries will be run through OpenAI or whatever is the LLM model behind the scene, and it will get these results, basically the compared responses, then the average latency, tokens, output tokens and input tokens for both the prompt. So once I run this thing, I know okay which system prompt was better in the way like which was like giving me an answer in a less latency, with a less number of input token and output token. We'll just get to know that. Here there's a factor of like how accurate the answer was, like the answer relevancy, profanity, things like that. We need to think about that later, but for sure I have something in mind, so we'll be thinking about that later. So in the OpenAI this file, you can see all my code. So what I have done is like there's one function called OpenAI code. This is just simply making the call into the OpenAI. I'm just checking a timer here just to calculate the latency, how much time it is taking to send the request and get it back. Remaining, I'm just taking the information from the response itself, like the total number of tokens and things like that, and I'm just calling this inside this compare application. So in this compare prompt function, what I'm doing, right, I'm just calling this to both the prompts. So I'm creating the prompt number one, I'm comparing that with the user queries in a loop. So if there's 10 user queries, this loop will run for 10 times. And I'm just doing that for like both the system prompt, and I'm getting all the information here. I'm just calculating the average of that, so I'm taking the sum of that, and I'm just converting that to average, and I'm returning to user. So it's very simple and straight away. I used a cursor to code this thing, so I have used a bit of like anything as well to finish the coding faster. And here I'm using a Thunder client, which is like I was lazy to install Postman, so just went with Thunder client, where I can get the Rust API or a Postman kind of a feel inside my VS code itself. So I just created this prompt just to test it. So like I'm saying, like you're a math expert, and answer me this mathematical problem. And here the query will replace the backend have the prompt for that. So your query you just mentioned like this, answer only mathematical problem. And second system prompt I mentioned like okay, solve this math problem, the query solve only math problem. So this is like very straight short. This is like a bit more explained kind of thing, but yeah, this is not an actual scenario, just to take an example I did that. And the user query is going to be like what going to be replaced by this query, right? One is like a equal to 7, b equal to 8, and get me a and b. So this is one way someone can ask. Same question I asked like just 7 plus 8, right? I just want to see how's the answer coming from the LLM. And at the same question I asked in other way, like what is 7 plus 8. And here I mentioned like solve only math problem or like answer only mathematical problem. I want to see when I ask like Pythagoras, because it's related to math, but it's not actually a real mathematical problem, how it responds. And how many months are in a year. Since I'm asking to count something, I want to see what's the response of the LLM. Okay, so there's a count thing coming in. I'm just trying to confuse LLM a bit also here. And what is the LinkedIn? This is like something really out of context. I want to see what's the answer to. So here I just did the request already. So the request takes couple of seconds to send all the request and get the response. You can see all the response on the right side. First query was this one, that inside this I act like a user query being replaced already, and the response is very straight. In case of second query, is the same user query, but the system prompt is different. So you can see there's a huge difference in the response. So the response token is maybe 3 to 4 times bigger. You can see the token size here, where the it was 12, this is 58. Means that's going to cost you 4 times, right? That's what you get to understand there basically. And you can see for the next question, there's a query, there's the answer. This time the better answer was on the first one, but both gives the answer. And third one, yeah, both same. fourth one I asked about like the Pythagoras, right? I got the answers on both. So even though I mentioned like answer only about little problems, but since I asked about maybe Pythagoras, it gave me the answer. And when I asked about the count the years, it did that too. Uh, when I asked about LinkedIn, it seems like there is a misunderstanding. What is LinkedIn? Does it appear? It's not a math problem. So yeah, it was able to catch that. So when I asked about LinkedIn, the second prompt and first prompt, both the prompt was not answering me because it's not something related to math. But when I asked about like to count the years because there is a count happening, the prompt was able to answer. When I asked about Pythagoras also, because Pythagoras is like something related to mathematics, it was able to answer. And if you go to the final part, you can see the average latency for the prompt one is 9,000 where the other one is like 1,100. So there's a difference, right? And number of the input token and output token also, you guys can see this one have a less output token input token, but this one have yeah, you can basically see. I'm not able to judge like one is better than other this case, but if you play around a bit, you will be able to come to a conclusion. Okay, what will be the a better prompt? So cool. I have updated this code to my GitHub repo. You can just check it there, and I'll just keep working on this. I'll bring a UI to this one, more parameters to analyze, and we'll see how it goes.